Hello, my friends. I wanted to make a video about the history of barbarity from European Christians. People, I mean, it's just so glaringly blatant, the hypocrisy that I see from, and I have European ethnicity. So I'm not talking to other people. I'm talking about my ancestors too. I have European blood. I have from the Iberic Peninsula. I have Italian, Greek Italian DNA. I also have Native American and African from two tribes. I even have a little bit of Irish in there. So I just think that a lot of people consider Europeans to be at the cusp of evolution and progress and civilization. And I present to you that European Christians, and I know being a Christian is not ethnicity, it's a religion, but they happen to be European Christians. Those two qualifications. European Christians have committed by far the largest number of genocides and land theft and invasions and atrocities against other ethnicities in modern history. I'll give you examples. The European Christians invaded the American continent in 1492. And they started the largest genocide in human history, the Native American genocide. It is estimated that between 50 and 100 million Native Americans, my Native American ancestors, were killed and had their land stolen by my European Christian ancestors. And then they went even farther to say that they discovered the American continent when there were tens of millions of humans already living. The reason they thought of Native Americans as savages and animals is because they have been brainwashed and willingly so by the church, the Catholic Church, into thinking that they were superior beings through papal bulls, through the orders of the Catholic Church to conquer and colonize and evangelize, which was nothing more than either convert or die. My European Christian ancestors invaded the land of my Native American ancestors, and they forced them into slave labor, raped our women. They used to hunt my Native American ancestors with dogs. They even wrote poems about worshiping or exalting those dogs for how many Native Americans they killed and hunted. There was one of them, a very famous Spanish war dog called Becerrillo, which is it was so big that it was as big as a small baby cow. That's what becerro means. So Becerrillo was a dog, a Spanish Mastiff dog that was trained by the Spaniards to hunt my Native American ancestors, and they even had a statue of him in Spain. So the atrocities were so bad that even some of the Europeans who came, some of the European invaders that invaded the continent, the American continent, were appalled, and they ended up doing a citizen's arrest on Cristobal Colon, which is wrongly translated into Christopher Columbus. And they sent them back to Spain in chains because he was a monster. He was a murderous monster. When he left 37 men in the Bahamas, in the Lucayas, and they started pillaging and raping and killing women and children. So my Native American ancestors fought back and killed them all. And when the Colon came back on the second voyage, I don't know if it was the second voyage or they sent people back to that island where he left his murderers, assholes. He found them all dead. The goons and the criminals that he left in that island. So they used to grab the little baby Taino and Native American babies and smash them against rocks and cut them out of Native American women's bellies. They just hunted them like animals. And that attitude was taken all throughout the North American, Central American, and South American continent by European Christians. And then they started passing laws, the civilized laws, to steal and grant land that wasn't theirs to begin with. It was stolen from the Native Americans, granting land to Caucasian European Christians, invaders, quote unquote settlers. They're nothing but barbaric European Christian invaders. That's what my ancestors were, and they were granted land that wasn't theirs. The European Christians, now we're up to say, let's make it in the middle, 75 million Native Americans. That's not counting the shipments of humans from Africa, kidnapped humans in Africa. So basically, you have to add that atrocity of about, I think it was, I'm not sure if it was 5 to 7 million Africans kidnapped and sold into slavery by European Christians throughout the entire American continent. The Portuguese were very prolific in this, in the slave trade, and so were the Dutch and the Spaniards and the British, who wrote the Barbados slave codes, which were used to perpetuate slavery and make it legal for European Christian slave owners to hunt. First of all, to keep humans as property, rape their daughters, cut off limbs if they escaped, so as to discourage other enslaved Africans from escaping. The Barbados slave codes were also instituted. I believe it was the Barbados slave codes. Correct me if I'm wrong. Instituted slavery. So basically, it was illegal to escape. It was illegal to seek freedom. You did not count as a human. You were property. And with all the atrocities that came with it, you could have your children could be sold into slavery, just like the Trump administration does. They kidnap people's children and they put them in the foster care system and they can decide whether they can put those children, other people's children, into adoption for U.S. citizens to adopt. So we haven't progressed much in that area. So another group of European Christians who committed atrocities. They're notorious for it. The French murdered and invaded and killed their way into Southeast Asia, namely Vietnam, with a brutality that is outrageous. They did it anywhere you go in Africa where they speak French or French Creole. It was invaded, pillaged, and massacred by the French. The same thing with the British. The British are the most prolific murderers of all time. That's where a lot of the European Christian invaders came from when they invaded the Americas. They also did it in India. They kept India in a de facto state of imprisonment for I don't know how many years, until Gandhi started the revolution. They did it to China to Taiwan, Hong Kong. They did it to South Africa. Anywhere in the Caribbean, they did it to. Anywhere outside of Great Britain, where you see people driving on the left side, it is because the British invaded them and stole their land and basically enslaved them and made them into their bitches. The reason we don't drive on the left side in the United States is because there were no cars, or roads like we know them today. So there were no traffic patterns like we have today, in the 1600s or wherever it was that day, or 16th century. So, also the Dutch. The Dutch were another group of European Christians. Anywhere you go, they did it in South Africa. They did it in the Caribbean. The list is pretty long. The ones that also committed heinous genocide were the people from Belgium. The Belgians committed atrocities, unspeakable atrocities. Namely, King Leopold II. He in the Congo and the Democratic Republic of Congo. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, King Leopold killed or maimed about 10 million Congolese African people, and then it was horrendous. So the Belgians have so much blood in their hands, not even funny. Let me see who else we get into that. So I propose to you that the most barbaric, prolific, genocidal monsters in history are the European Christians.